Simon Lovell was a 31-year-old professional con man who had spun the gambling tricks that he had learned from his grandfather into a lucrative business, fleecing strangers. Without hesitation or remorse, he left his marks, his victims, broken in hotel rooms all over the world. Nothing suggested that this particular day in 1988 would be any different. Lovell was in Europe, and he spotted his next victim at the bar, plied him with drinks, and drew him into a cross, which is a classic con in which the victim is made to believe that he or she is part of a foolproof get-rich scheme. The con went perfectly. Lovell says, "I took him for an extremely large amount of money." And after he was done, Lovell hustled the drunk man out of the hotel room where the fleecing had occurred and dumped him in the hallway, intending for security to deal with him. But then, something unexpected happened. The mark went to pieces. I have never seen a man break down that badly ever, Lovell recalled. He was just sliding down the wall, weeping and wailing. And what followed was a moment that Lovell would look back on as a hinge point in his life. It was as if a light suddenly came on, and I thought, this is really bad. For the first time in his life, he felt sorry for someone. So Lovell's next move was hard for even him to believe. He returned the guy's money, and he declared himself done with a swindler's life. There was an absolute epiphany that I could no longer do this. I couldn't do this to anyone again. So the next day, he felt different. He felt lighter. He said, I felt like I had become a human being again, and he never again ran another con. Simon Lovell had experienced a wake-up call, or whatever you would like to call it, an epiphany, an aha moment. What could possibly explain an event so unexpected and forceful and transformative that it cleaves a life into two parts, before and after? Well, the dictionary defines an aha moment as a moment of sudden realization, inspiration, insight, recognition, or comprehension. We have all had aha moments before, when we've suddenly experienced a clarity that is brand new. We've seen something about the job, or the person, or the system, or the relationship, the way things really are. Oh, now I see. This is the way it really is. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't ever go back and live as though you didn't know this new thing. Once you find out you can't trust your boss, you live every day with that knowledge, and it changes you. Once you discover that you had no reason to doubt that relationship, you adjust your behavior. It changes you. Your aha moment, your epiphany has changed you forever. And sometimes epiphanies are great, wonderful, positive things, and sometimes they knock the wind out of you, and you feel like you can never trust anyone again. So, what's going on with Truman Burbank? Well, a lot of things have happened, and we're not going to show all of them to you, but Truman has become suspicious about his life. He's starting to believe there is some sort of conspiracy. And through a variety of reasons and events, Truman no longer trusts anyone. So he decides to face his fear of the water and sail out of his small town. To the shock of the producer and the cast and the crew, and the thousands of people that make this show happen, Truman is out at sea on a sailboat trying to escape. These are the moments that bring us to despair, and they paralyze us, and they unseat us, and they fill us with phenomenal fear. yet they are also the moments that define our future. These are the moments that help us truly move past what is and move toward what could be. Suddenly I see this is where I want to be. Beth just sang those words. Have you felt that? Have you dared to overcome your fear and do something different, something completely off the map? Franklin Roosevelt once wrote, "The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today." Sometimes our epiphanies happen outside of us, like Truman running into the edge of the set on his soundstage, punctuating it, piercing it with the bow of his ship. Or like when a person reveals information to us, and that changes everything. Other times, our aha moments, our epiphanies, come from within us. Most of the time, Bruce Grierson writes, ideas develop from the steady percolation and evaluation of thoughts and feelings. But every so often, if you're lucky, a blockbuster notion breaks through in a flash of insight that's as unexpected as it is blazingly clear. These revelations can be deeply personal and can prompt realizations to make major changes within us. Yes, I should quit that job. Yes, I should move to another city. Yes, I need to mend that broken relationship. Epiphanies can also be creative forces that help us to generate new ideas and produce art and start new businesses. In all cases, these revelations allow us to apprehend something that we were blind to before. Dr. William Miller, psychiatry and psychology professor at the University of New Mexico, did an interesting study. He interviewed people who had all claimed to have experienced moments of sudden realizations that led to life transformations. And this is what he learned. He learned that most of the triggers for those moments were not very dramatic. People experienced moments of these sudden realizations and then made life transformations while doing very normal things, while walking down the street, while cleaning a toilet, while watching TV, while lying in bed, while preparing to take a shower. But what was strikingly similar, he discovered, was how those moments felt to each of the interviewers. They each said that it felt like the message revealed to them from outside of themselves, from something other than what their mind had created. They received some foreign sort of mystical message that they had never thought of before. And that may explain why so many historical accounts of revelations have been interpreted as communications from the divine. I choose to believe that many of the aha moments of realization and epiphanies that I have personally experienced have come to me from the voice of a loving God. And just as Dr. Miller described, these things happened while I was doing normal things. I was feeding the dogs or taking a shower or working out. And there's a good reason for that. Most of the time, revelations come to us when we aren't trying to think. I also know from experience that it is commonly through the words of other people that God speaks to me. A random piece of advice from a friend might not be so random. God reminds us in a multitude of ways that we are worthy and loved. God sends us frequent moments of clarity that help us to live better. Many years ago, when I was just beginning to teach high school theater, a fellow high school teacher had watched one of my theater classes, and we were rehearsing a play, and she approached me after the class and she said, "Why do you stomp around the stage yelling at your students?" I stopped cold. I don't do that. Do I? I had no idea I was stomping and yelling. Yes, she said, you seem so angry at them. I wonder why they listen to you. Well, I hesitated and I thanked her for her honesty, and I realized in the moment I was experiencing an epiphany because of her words to me. I never again stomped on the stage and yelled at my students. I believe that it is what we do after our epiphany that defines us. What choice do we make? Do we strike out on that new path with our newfound clarity? Or do we pretend we just didn't see what we just saw? We don't know what we just realized. An epiphany can be the start of something marvelous, a flash that leads to a visionary idea, an exciting adventure, a solution to the problem, a collaborative endeavor, or an act of kindness. Don't be afraid to step out. Don't be afraid to say, I can see clearly now, and I'm going to do something about it. Amen. Brad Pitt, you know, that scholar and philosopher Brad Pitt, once said, I always like those moments of epiphany when you have the next destination. So perhaps today you have had an epiphany about your previous epiphanies. So what's your next destination? Have a great Sunday and go in peace. Amen.